This story happened to a man who was completely certain about one thing. Someone was living above him. And that was impossible, because the apartment upstairs had been empty for years. Daniel moved into the building looking for silence. It was an old place, narrow hallways, faded paint, cheap rent. Perfect for someone who wanted to be alone. The first night was quiet. The second night wasn't. At exactly 1:17 a.m., he heard footsteps. Slow, heavy, deliberate, walking directly above his bedroom. At first, Daniel ignored it. Old buildings make noise, pipes expand, wood shifts. But this was different. These were steps. Clear, measured, human. Back and forth, back and forth. Every night, always after 1 a.m. A week later, he spoke to the landlord. The landlord didn't even hesitate. The apartment above you is empty. Daniel laughed, thinking it was a joke. It wasn't. The unit had been abandoned years earlier after a fire. No tenant, no furniture, no electricity. No one had entered it since. But the sounds continued. Footsteps, dragging noises, something heavy being moved across the floor. Sometimes it sounded like pacing, sometimes like someone running. One night the noise became violent. A loud crash shook the ceiling. Daniel rushed upstairs. The hallway light flickered. The door to the apartment was sealed with an official lock. A thin layer of dust covered the handle. No footprints, no signs of entry. He pressed his ear against the door. Silence. Then suddenly, a soft movement inside, like breathing. He stepped back immediately. The next day, he demanded the landlord open the apartment. Reluctantly, the landlord agreed. They unlocked the door together. The smell hit first. Burned wood, old smoke, damp air. The apartment was empty, completely empty. No furniture, no personal items, no reason for footsteps. But something was wrong. In the center of the living room, the dust had been disturbed, as if something heavy had been dragged across the floor. Fresh marks. Recent. Daniel noticed something else. A single chair placed in the middle of the hallway, facing the entrance. The landlord swore it hadn't been there before. The bathroom was worse. The mirror was covered in dust, except for one clear section. Words had been written with a finger. "You finally came back." Daniel insisted he had never been there before, but the message remained. After that day, the sounds grew worse. The pacing became constant, footsteps running late at night, scratching inside the walls, something heavy dragging itself slowly above his bed. He stopped sleeping, stopped turning off the lights, stopped feeling safe. Then came the final night. At 1:17 a.m., the footsteps started again. But this time, they didn't stay upstairs. They moved toward the apartment door. Daniel heard 3 slow knocks from inside the sealed apartment above. Daniel moved out the next morning, immediately. He never returned. Weeks later, a new tenant moved into his old unit. On the first night, the landlord received a complaint. Footsteps, pacing, dragging sounds above the bedroom. But the most disturbing part came later. The building records revealed something strange. Years earlier, before the fire, Daniel himself had lived in that upstairs apartment. He had died there, alone, and no one could explain how he had been living downstairs.